All right, so I'm gonna be honest. I'm just exhausted after that game. What we knew this was as the game was evolving, this was gonna be either a thrilling victory, or an exhausting loss, and it ended up being the latter. This game was a marathon game, and it ends in the kind of disappointment we've been seeing from this team at least the last year, where last year the graphic was up. I think we were 1-8 in one score games. And again, we're not able to pull through. This time, I think most of the disappointment is on the defense, which really never got key stops, especially towards the end of the game, especially once Dallas kept saying, hey, we got CD Lamb. Let's just keep feeding the ball to him. We just, we couldn't stop ourselves from making penalties. I think it was just a lot of that was on Dallas just being, just outmanning us and us trying to recover. There was the Wilson mistake at the very end of the game. I'm going to treat it as kind of a punt at that point. You get the ball to the 30. If we don't get the first down there at the end of the game, I know I'm skipping ahead a bit. If we don't get the touch, if we don't get a first down, if we don't score at the end of that game, it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Dallas is going to come down and win. We weren't going to stop them 3 times in OT, especially the way the defense was playing, and especially when you've got a guy like Aubrey who could kick it. It looks like from 75. It looks like he could kick it from. So this is a game that felt like 8 games rolled into one. Last week, I spent like an hour or so just going through all of my notes. I don't know to the degree at which I'm going to do that, because there's just so much to unpack, because it feels like a long time ago when the game felt like Hudson was the story of the game and we were missing a lot of opportunities offensively to pull ahead. And you could say that was the reason, to a degree, we missed opportunities at the beginning of the game, and that's why we lost it. And yeah, to a degree, you could say that's true, but, eventually, we're just going blow to blow at the end of the game, and we're just not able to get key stops. We gave up 41 points were scored in the fourth quarter, so both teams were struggling to stop each other. But again, beginning of the game, we were making, defensively against the run, we were doing a lot better, and maybe we just kind of ran out of gas. So, here's some of my notes overall for the game. I mean, again, for a while, the run defense looked a lot better until it stopped, and then they just kept feeding the ball to CD Lamb. Obviously, for most of the game, Russ played really well, and we saw the reasons why he could be a really, good quarterback for us, getting those deep balls to Robinson and Neighbors at key moments. I don't know how many Giants fans felt like we had the game won once the touchdown throw was made to Neighbors, but I certainly didn't feel that way. And then, of course, I think Bowens just fails us. With this soft zone, does nothing creative, and basically says, go ahead, just move to the 50-yard line and get what is a chip shot field goal, essentially, for Audrey. I mean, we saw that field goal kick from 64. It was right down the middle with plenty of yards to spare. So, we just kind of let them get there. I don't understand it. But again, we had opportunities. So, yeah, early in this game, I'm going to try to run through some of my notes, because like I said, the first drive of this game, and again, it just feels like a long time ago since the first quarter of this game. 4 penalties by one player on the drive. They said it's the first time that had happened this century. I'm assuming since 2000, so 25 years this century. So that you had a lot of opportunities to score. But we had a penalty on Slayton, I believe. We had 2 false starts on Hudson, 2 personal fouls by Hudson. And so a lot of potentially every time we had an opportunity for a big chunk, it got blown away by a penalty. So, Tracy got a big run on an off tackle, got reversed on the Slayton penalty. I'm not going to run through every penalty. Again, that first drive, we get a big moon ball to Robinson inside the 5 for 51 yards. But there's a personal foul after the play. So, we're already struggling at the goal line, and Hudson sort of brings us back. And then we do what we had been doing most of the year, which is being unable to punch it in from the goal line, which, maybe 1st and 5 or so, or 1st and inside the 5, we can get that. But, once we get taken back, we start to struggle. They had thought about pulling out Hudson. It looked like in that drive, and then they decided not to. I'm not sure. Some of the indecisiveness was a little weird. They did this later where they were putting Jackson Dart in, and then there's a play where they're about to put him in and they don't put him in, and I don't know. I'll talk about the Jackson Dart stuff in a moment, but overall, I thought it was dubious putting Jackson Dart in at all, given the circumstances. It was predictable they were going to run the football in those moments. You weren't going to let Jackson Dart throw the football in the moments that where we were in the game, and you wanted a veteran who was playing well continue to play the games. I know one of the plays worked out, but I mean, did it really fake out Dallas that much? We just got a good run. So the next drive, the drive defensively, we get a 3. So, that first drive, we get a field goal and we're feeling like we should have a touchdown. We get Dallas 3 and out. Next drive, we get another field goal, and it's again the same story where it's just that we probably feel like we should be up 10 or 14, but we continue to keep making mistakes. So, in some ways you're feeling good, in some ways you're feeling bad. Let me look a little closer at my notes here. Again, this feels like a long time ago. We get a couple of throws to Neighbors, but then we stall again near the goal line. Yeah, we stall again inside the goal line. Fires to Robinson in double coverage. She drops a pass incomplete. We get a chip shot field goal. So there was not so much with the penalties on that drive, but again, we get into goal line territory and we stall. And actually, I am starting to remember a bit because I'm wondering why throughout this game we're not just like pounding it in there a bit more. Again, I don't want to spend too much on the first half because just so much ends up happening in this game. Most of the first half feels like missed opportunities, and I believe we go into the end of the half losing where we feel like we should have been winning. So again, on our second defensive stand, Dallas goes 3 and out. Offensively, we have our worst drive. We go 3 and out, and then Dallas starts to put up a bit of a better drive. So get a throw to CeeDee Lamb. Dallas gets a couple of big plays. We get a pass breakup by Adebo in the end zone. We get a sack on third down inside the goal line. So we do hold them off, and they do hit a 51-yard field goal. That doesn't quite look right, but my notes. Inside sack by Tibbs inside the goal line. That's probably not right. My notes. But either way, again, it just feels like a long time ago for me to sit through like I did last week, just going through every single detail of every drive. But I do want to see. But then we finally on the next offensive drive, we're up 6-3, and this is maybe starting to feel good where we're starting to throw those quote unquote moon balls that Wilson is known for. We get the 29-yard touchdown to Neighbors, who gets the ball in the back of his head. So that felt pretty good. Couple of scat plays were in there. Quick throw to Robinson in there, but for the first time we finally get the ball in, and maybe there's this sort of hope like, okay, we 3 offensive possessions, 3 scores, things are looking good, things are feeling good. But then Dallas, their next possession, they drive on us really quickly, and they get the touchdown. So this was another series where we just get a ton of penalties. There was one play where there were 4 flags on the play, 3 of them on us, but they bail us out with the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty by CeeDee Lamb. But we had like 2 personal fouls and the pass interference. So it looked ridiculous on our end, and it just looked like this was going to be a game where in the first half it looks like we're thoroughly outplaying Dallas, which is completely the opposite. Camera's getting blurry here. It's completely the opposite of last week, and now this is already starting to feel like, on one hand, you're feeling good that the team looks like they're playing better, and on the other hand, it's feeling like, well, we let them hang in it, and this might not go our way. And then, having been a fan for many, many years, but particularly the last 10, 15 years or so, this is starting to feel like, oh, here we go again. Because even without playing them, we're gonna fall in the end here. I think a lot of Giants fans are feeling that. Yeah, there's a 3rd and 9. There's a hard count. We jump. There's a free play. They get the touchdown to Turpin, which Olsen felt was a misassignment by Phillips. Okay, 13-10. Offensive possession. Not much of note here. We go nowhere, and we have to punt. 2-minute drill for Dallas. And again, this just feels like, we should be up. We were, outplaying Dallas. And we get lucky, kind of like last week's game. We got lucky at the end of half last week that Washington was unable to score, a little bit of poor clock management. Same thing here. Dallas moves the football quickly on us, but they run out of time. They can't get set. There's a penalty. Trying to get set in the last 5 seconds. They don't get set. There's a penalty. Clock runs out. And we're going into the half 13-10. And again, we are up. Excuse me. We are up. But in a lot of ways, it feels like we're losing. And it feels like this is a game where, going into the half, it feels like a game where the thinking is going to be, we had a lot of opportunities. We blew it in the first half by all of these missed opportunities. In this game, we had the most penalties since 2000, and who knows, maybe more by the end of the game. So that's obviously a lot of this. But again, the game kind of evolves so much that it almost becomes difficult to even look at the game being won or lost in the first half. Again, in the fourth quarter, 41 points are scored. We end up in overtime. We have opportunities. So while there might have been some missed opportunities in the first half that maybe if we convert a touchdown here or there, we probably win the game. We also end up with so many opportunities at the end of the game. To a degree, it's hard for me to say this game was lost because of the offense not clicking and penalties at the beginning of the game. We scored 37 points. We should have won this football game. So let's look at the second half. And I'm thinking at halftime, like this is the hey, if this doesn't work out, this is like the fire Dable, Joe Shane game. Doesn't mean that's going to happen this week, but it feels like this is the week where it's like, if we don't win this one, where we were outplaying Dallas, and this is one of the few teams on our schedule where maybe you could win, if you're a decent team, you should be able to beat this team, especially given what's on our schedule. So this is looking like, if we don't win this game, especially with us outplaying them, where, this could be the beginning of the end for this Joe Shane, Brian Dable regime. So I'm going to slow down a little bit because now we're getting into the second half. And again, like the first half, a lot happens in that first half, but so much happens in this game that I kind of want to skim through it a bit. But and this is a game where both teams are not taking over and both teams are making mistakes. You expect that from Dallas historically. And so in the first drive, interception by Drew Phillips. And so you're starting to feel like, okay, both teams are making some mistakes and eventually they'll settle into something. And who's going to take the game. And this is when we drive the ball. So we get a play fake to Tracy for 12. Underneath to Tracy for a drop, flat to Robinson for 5. And it's funny because I'm thinking around here, I'd like to see a Scatterboo play. It's 3rd and 5. And we're at our 24-yard line. We're moving forward. You want to get a touchdown here. You want to punch it in. We're up 13-10. And Robinson gets a catch. He had a big game. He was getting a ton of catches. Let's kind of skip forward here. In the end, we're 4th and 2 at the 9-yard line, and we go for it. We get kind of an imperfect throw to Scat, but he also drops it, and it should have been a first down. And Scat ends up having a good game, but at this point in the game, he's not quite in it. He gets a key drop, and so we have an opportunity. And again, this is just one of those, a ton of missed opportunities. So penalties, drops. Neighbors even has a bit of a drop later on, though I think we get a touchdown on that drive. And so Dallas hands us points and we don't take it. Who knows? Maybe looking back, we go for that field goal. I don't know. But, I get it. You're playing the field position game. Next drive for Dallas. So now we've handed them the ball, and I think this is like a big 90 some odd touchdown by Dallas, and this ends on the 1st and 10, moving the ball at the 30. Again, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from this game. This is an exhausting game. I'm not even sure. Sorry to kind of stop. I'm not even sure whether to be disappointed or not, because there's so many times where you expect it. This is another drive where we get a couple of big personal foul penalties, pass interference penalty. Brian Burns was all over the place. He gets a stuff on the screenplay as Dallas is driving at around midfield. They get a throw to Pickens. Phillips gets the pass interference. I mean, I just think that defensively, they're not so much mistakes. We're just struggling to cover. And then Williams gets they get it 1st and 10 at the 30, and Williams breaks a few tackles and runs it in for a touchdown. So, there are really good moments defensively against the run, and then there are just moments where we've just seen gas and, they break through for us. But again, I mean, Burns was all over the place for a while. Beginning of the game, the defense looks good, but they seem to run out of gas towards the end of that game. But then this game starts to become a bit of a slugfest. And it starts out with these like little like cheap jabs, and then they're like body blows. So this is the next kind of like, it's a body blow, but we don't really finish them, and then we get kind of a cheap jab in. So we get the big throw to Slayton for 51 yards. It's the first catch of Slayton in the season, and then the drive stalls. So we get a 5-yard run to Scat, but then the drive stalls completely, and we decide not to go for it, and we kick the field goal. It was 1st and 5 inside the 10 or around the 10. We kick the field goal. And I'm kind of good with this. I know the broadcasters are kind of suggesting why not just go for it for the most part in all these situations. But it's 13-7. We've got 5 to go. We have struggled converting, and I'm just thinking, you know what? Just get the cheap jab in, stay within striking distance, get it to 16-7. Because even if Dallas scores a touchdown, it's still a 1-score game. Just do not come away with a big play and not get a score at this point. I'm usually much less conservative in general. I think as a lot of fans are. I think this was the moment where Daves makes the right decision. Just kick the field goal and get us within striking distance. And now we're getting to a bit of a slugfest. And if I'm going by my guess here, because there's a point in this game where Dallas is like, well, we have CeeDee Lamb. Let's just keep throwing the ball to them. So it's a slugfest. Neither team's taking it. Both teams probably feel like they should be able to take control of this ball game. Neither team hasn't, which is, again, why I think the field goal was a good decision. But this was a long, I have a long drive by Dallas that ends in an Audrey field goal. So, and just nothing, I don't want nothing of note. It's just a play that ends in a field goal. There's a throw to Pickens that ends up with another PI. So that was another key penalty. And Adebo just doesn't really have his head turned. He's not really playing the ball. I forget if this is the drive. There's a drive somewhere where we get a personal foul penalty, which looks really dubious. But again, it ends it with a field goal, and now we're early in the fourth quarter. It's 16-20. And again, this almost feels like this is when the football game happens. Yeah. And again, I'm exhausted from that game. So we're going into the fourth quarter, and Russ has thrown 310 yards for a TD. And now we're going to try to get, some more of the big plays. So this is a play that we get at the 40-yard line. Our field position is good all day, which is almost surprising because it was expected that Dallas would have the really good field position on special teams, but we kept getting it 35, 40-yard line. So I'm thinking, hey, we need to get the ball to Slayton more. This is an interesting drive because we get to throw the Slayton that ends in the PI, gets a big gain for us. And then there's a big run to Scat, and this is the first play that Jackson Dart comes in, and it looks a little weird already. but it ends with a run, and we're at the goal line, and finally there's no funny business. I felt like, even before with Scat, we're in short yardage situation, and we're doing tosses to Scat, or we're handing it off to him from shotgun. It's like just feed it in and just let him pound it in. So after the PI to Slayton, we finally do pound it to Scat. No funny business. He drives it in. First goal line red zone touchdown of the year, and first goal line touchdown of the year. As we move forward. So yeah, again, I don't really know why we're seeing Jackson Dart. But we saw him a couple of times on that drive. And it's going to start to get predictable that we're not going to let Jackson Dart throw the ball. Excuse me. So we go up, and now here we are. It's going to be the slugfest. This is the one where this is the drive where Dallas keeps feeding CeeDee Lamb the ball, and we seem to be generally unable to stop it. And then we get the big roughing call, and it just looked like a drive where, as a Giants fan, we're not going to stop them. You kind of see the avalanche coming, and then they get the strong rushing touchdown by Sanders. So this is when Dallas seems to start to figure it out offensively, but then we start to figure it out offensively. So there's 6 minutes left in the game. It's 23-27, and we're starting to feel like, hey, we've got to respond. And this is where, again, we go back to Jackson Dart in the game at some point after we get like I'm going to slow down here, because now we're really getting into key aspects of the game. I'm going to slow down here because we get a pass to Scat for 9 yards. I believe this was, he catches it like 5 yards, gets some yak for 4 yards, gets a 9-yard play. And we're moving the football. We had scored on the last drive. We put Jackson Dart in again, and it's just like, why? And I think, we hand off to Tracy, we get the first down, but like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we getting cute here? And it's just sometimes, like, it's just something strange about what Dable does with the game. Like, well, why does he get, like, just play football sometimes? Do you believe in your team at all? Like, what are you trying to accomplish putting Jackson Dart in the game on 2nd and 1? And it kind of, it stops working. Eventually, they know what you're going to do. Like, you're not going to throw the football with Jackson at this time in the game, and if you do, you're nuts. But we get a few. I think this is where we get a couple. Theo Johnson starts getting the ball for a first down. Slayton gets a big 8 yards, 8 or 9, and we're at 2nd and 1. And then Jackson Dart comes in the game again. And like, I don't understand. Like, and I wrote here, this is Bush League. Like, this is Bush League. So he does a play fake, and he tries to it looks like he tries to do option out, and he just gets stopped for a bit of a loss. And it looks like this drive is going to stall, because now instead of 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and 4, because you're getting cute for no reason, especially when your offense is starting to get a rhythm. You're getting cute for no reason. I don't know why. But 3rd and 4, throw the neighbors into the drop, and it's starting to feel like, oh, this is going to be one of those. And then we throw on 4th and 4, 32-yard line. We throw the big moon ball to Robinson. Wandell gets it, touchdown. And again, now we're getting those body blows in. And it's 30-27, 2:40 left in the game. But it's scary because it just looks like one of those games where it's starting to feel like we're not going to stop them. We're not going to stop them. So are we going to end up with any time left in the game? And sure enough, we don't stop them. 1st and 10, CeeDee Lamb goes for 6. Then we get a tip ball, I think, by Burns. Phillips deflects a ball. It's 4th and 4, around the 35, inside their 35. And looks like there's a big catch by Tolbert, and we would have gotten the personal foul penalty as well. So 1st and 10, we blitz. They get a drop by Robinson. Then we rush 3. I think they get 5 on that. Slant to Pickens for the first down, and they're just marching down. CeeDee Lamb with an easy catch. Williams gets a big run, and we're now only have a few seconds left. I'm like, call timeout, call timeout. I'm worried that these, we're doing like one of these coaches things where we don't know play clocks or how to manage the clock, but we do call timeout. There's less than a minute left. And part of me is like, just let them score. Just let them score. And I don't know if we let them score, but we just couldn't stop them. Again, it's 30-27, and, we're not going to stop them. So at least give us some time. We have 3 timeouts. They do throw it to Pickens for the touchdown on second and goal at the 6. And you're not feeling good. You have 52 seconds left, 3 timeouts. You don't feel good at this moment, but you don't feel terrible. Like, or you do feel, you feel pretty bad, but it's like, all right, maybe we've got some hope, especially we have 3 timeouts. We've been getting the long passes. This is our last chance. 52 seconds left. And we get good field position again. Tracy gets it to 37. Air it out to Neighbors. Incomplete. He's well covered. Second and 10. 41 seconds left. Wilson runs for 10 yards. After he's in trouble, we lose the timeout. So, but we are at the 47, 48, and then that's when we get the big touchdown throw to Neighbors from Russ. And I just shout, let Russ cook. And at this point, I wrote down the stats. He has 433 yards for 3 touchdowns. And his QB rating's like 120 plus. So this was, hey, you got everything you could have wanted from Russ. And I hope he doesn't get excoriated for the interception, because it shouldn't have come down to that. Did he come through in overtime? He didn't. It was a drag. He didn't come through in overtime, but you're up 37-34 with 25 seconds left. I believe Dallas has all 3 of their timeouts. And here's the thing. I don't know. I'm convinced the Giants are going to give up the field goal. And I'm kind of okay with it, because we were about to lose. So getting the touchdown, Dallas coming back with a field goal, you just go, you know what? It could have been worse. So you want to stop them. But again, this is the Shane Bowen. And I mean, Shane Bowen is the opposite of like every defensive coordinator we've ever had in my life as a Giants fan. Just there's no aggression. And just think about the defensive coordinators. If going back to 90, Bill Belichick, John Fox, Spagnuolo, like you're just, and then we get, even Wink Martindale. Then we get Shane Bowen. And Shane Bowen, it just basically says, here, get it to the 50 and kick the 64-yard field goal. I barely have anything else to say. I mean, I wrote down here, Brian Burns was all over this game. I think he got a tip ball, and Lawrence almost got an interception to put it away. But we're running this soft zone. They easily get it to midfield, and Aubrey kicks the 64-yard field goal, and he drills it. It was nothing. And I don't really know, like, did the team know who they were up against? Like, I don't understand. Like, what are they doing defensively? Like, don't treat this like, prevent. I forget who said it, but prevent defenses prevent wins. It's just not the time to run a prevent defense. There's 25 seconds left. You're probably not going to give up a touchdown. But you're playing for overtime on the road against a team that is beating you, 8-9 times in a row? Fight to win. So we get into overtime. Look, like I said, I kind of just, I went into that drive expecting the Giants to give up the field goal. But Dallas gives us a chance. They get the football. They get a key drop on third down, on 3rd and 10. And it looked like Drew Phillips might have deflected the ball. It goes through the receiver's hands. I didn't write down who it was. It might have been Tolbert. They fumbled the ball, and they picked it up. So, I mean, boy, they tried giving us the game. Their backup center was in the game. They fumbled the football. We don't get it. So just a big break that we could really use. We don't get. Probably would have iced the game if we're there. It looked like there were a ton of Giants there. I thought we got it. We did it. But they give us the ball, and I mean, in a lot of ways, we lose this game. Like, there's just we have a series of opportunities and a series of moments where it feels like, oh, we gave up the game, and it was that backwards throw that ends up being a fumble for 3rd and 17. We miss Swandale on the overthrow. And at that point, it's 4:44. I think it's over. Like, the game is, I think we're going to lose. But Dallas keeps giving us life. So we get, 4 minutes, 44 seconds left. This game should be over. Like, Dallas needs just a field goal. We know what their field goal kicker could do. Our defense hasn't been able to stop them anymore. It's 37-37. And then we get a big sack. Offensive pass interference on their big gain. They get a huge run by Williams. So again, in the backfield, it's like 3rd and 20. And he breaks a tackle. Not 3rd and 20. Correction. 2nd and 29. 2nd and 29. And he picks up about 20 yards on the missed tackle. And then we stop him. After he picks up 20. But 3rd and 10, Drew Phillips makes a huge tackle. Drew Phillips, it's kind of a weird game for him because he makes some great plays and then he made some bad plays. Again, I think he was just outmatched a lot of the times. 4th and 5, I'm almost thinking Dallas should just go for it. I didn't write down here where they were. But they're probably at their own 40 if I'm going by memory, somewhere around there. Yeah, I stopped taking really good notes at this point because now I'm just like, I'm into the game. I mean, I'm into the game the whole time, but now it's just like, just focus on the game. Forget about taking meticulous notes. And I'm exhausted too from this game. They punt it, and then I write down here last chance, and sure enough, it was. That's when Russ throws the dubious pass for the interception. Don't know if the wrong route was being run. I don't know. Didn't look like a good play by Russ. It's like, he has an opportunity he had 2 opportunities to give us game-winning drives, and he didn't come through. And it's 2 minutes left in the game. I don't even bother. I know what's going to happen. And surely enough, Dallas drives down the field, gets the chip shot field goal, and they win the game. And so let me talk a little bit. Russell Wilson. I'm not gonna blame Russell Wilson for this. I mean, it looked terrible in the overtime. He didn't come through at the end, but like, he came through for us the entire 4th quarter. He played a really good football game from beginning to end, and most of that game you're looking at it and going, yeah, here's why, Russell Wilson is a good starter for us. And I was actually happy with Russ being the guy that we ended up signing. I think Matt Stafford would have been a real reach for us. Like, we're not ready to just start winning, being a great football team. Clearly, we're not ready for a Matt Stafford. And, he came in with injury issues and would have been a lot of money. And Rodgers, really talented quarterback. And maybe, it looks like I didn't see what he did today, but, he had a great first game. And maybe would have been great from a talent perspective, but I don't think great from the perspective of being in the room and being ready to pass the torch to Jackson. I mean, Russell has said all the right things. Whether he means it or not, I can't get into his head, but he seems to have done and said all the right things. And so I kind of like having Russ, and it's like $10 million. And based on today's game, he did more than that salary would command. So largely a good game by him. Obviously too many mistakes, and at some point you kind of look at that and it ends up you kind of, over time, you kind of have to put that on the coaching staff. And then this is supposed to be that great defense, and Shane Bowen just gives us nothing. He gives us absolutely nothing. I think for me, of all the things I'm disappointed in this game, I think it is Shane Bowen. There's too much talent on this defense. I don't hear Abdul Carter all game. I don't hear his name all game. The only thing I only hear, like, it's Brian Burns all over the place all game. Russ did not play well in overtime. Our defense gave us opportunities in overtime, but it shouldn't have gotten into overtime. Or at least if it did, it shouldn't have been that easy. It shouldn't have been that easy for them to just march down into the 50-yard line. Look, if we play with some guts and they get down the field on us, fine. But with 25 seconds left, and I think after the kickoff, like 19 seconds left in the game, for them to get into field goal range that quickly and that easily without us doing anything, creative, interesting defensively, where we just said, go ahead, here, take the 50, take it, it's yours. Of all the times, I was never a big fan of Brian Dable getting into someone's face and yelling at him, because I thought he was almost making it more about himself. That would have been the time to do it. It's just Shane Bowen, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He plays soft zone constantly, and now this is an even softer zone. And like I said, I was prepared for Dallas to score. I was not prepared for us to just say, here you go. I mean, I guess I was, because that's what Shane Bowen does. So, like I said, I'm kind of exhausted. There's just so much that happened in this game, and there were so many opportunities. The huge penalties at the beginning of the game offensively, which cost us opportunities. So maybe we're not in this position. Offensively, we do get in a rhythm. We fail. Again, we have like, if you're up by a field goal, 25 seconds left, it shouldn't be that easy for them to tie the game. But they do. Like I said, I was prepared for it mentally. And then in overtime, and then like each unit disappoints us at some point. And then in overtime, look, the defense does hold. Some of it's on Dallas, some of it's on our defense does hold. And we get 2 drives, with the opportunity to win the game on just a field goal. And after scoring 37 points, that's all of a sudden, that's when we get shaky. And this is the kind of game where if we hadn't been in this situation, like year after year after year after year, you'd say, okay, all right. I'm not there are no moral victories kind of person, because there are no moral victories. You want to win the game, but you can use a game, even in the loss, to kind of project forward. And we could project forward that, okay, maybe the offense can play well. As bad as it looked against Washington, at times it looked really good against Dallas. And we could say maybe it's somewhere in the middle. And maybe offensively we can be closer to that offensive unit that we thought might be good coming out of the preseason, whether it's Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart moving forward. I don't want to see Jackson Dart next week. Russ played a good game, and the concern is we've got a Kansas City team that's a Spags defense. It's been a really good defense the last year or so. I don't know what they're doing against Philly right now. But that's not a defense I want to put a rookie quarterback in. And, we already had a tough time against Washington. I don't know if we're going to regress next week. So what's disappointing was while we did make some strides offensively, you kind of have to mentally prepare for a loss next week, or it's going to be tough for us offensively next week. Not to mention we have, arguably the best quarterback in football that we're going up against, and with a defense that has a lot of talent, but we never seem to put them in position to utilize their talent. Right. There are people who could break down what the defense is doing better than I can. But for what I'm constantly seeing a very soft defense. I'm constantly seeing a defense that's not particularly creative. I'm seeing a defense that constantly plays it safe. And anyone who I've heard, speak about, their analysis of Shane Bowen doesn't really seem to say much differently. And I think that's what I wrote in my notes is I can't stand Shane Bowen. I'm like, of all the defensive coordinators in my lifetime, I cannot stand Shane Bowen. I can't stand him. Dallas has some firepower. I get it, but I rather go down swinging than just like backpedaling and let the game go away, because we should have won that game on that touchdown to Neighbors. That's where we should have won the game. But again, it's a game with a lot of opportunities. It's a disappointing loss. One of the weird things about this loss, it almost would have been better if Russell had a bad game in some ways, because you just say, all right, let's start to move to the Jackson Dart era. And apparently Brian Daboll wanted to do that by trotting him out there at the least inopportune times to do predictable run plays. Very strange timing. And as the broadcast said, it would have been one thing if it was in a blowout or something. But to do it, or if Russ was playing poorly, but to do it when Russ is playing pretty well, key moments, it's a close football game. This is for what? For what? It was weird. Very weird moments. What could have been one of the best wins in many years ends up being one of the most disappointing losses. A lot of missed opportunities. So yeah, that's like I said, I probably, anyone who made it this far, probably a lot of rambling for me at the beginning there. Like I said, I was kind of exhausted and just kind of had to get my footing again on this game. And it's just, again, like some of the notes at the beginning of the game, while the first half was, there were key moments, it just felt like such a different football game again as we got into the fourth quarter. I wish I could have been, it sucks because you wish you could enjoy this more, because if you're not a fan of either of the teams, it's what a fun football, it's a fun football game. Of course, both teams made a lot of mistakes, but a fun football game. And it ends up, if you're a fan of one of these teams, it only ends up being fun for Dallas. And it ends up being another kind of choke job for the Giants. And unless we really turn it around, it puts us in a tough spot. And I think the toughest spot is you saw signs of growth, but it just might not add up to anything. And really, to me, we put up 37 points. So the disappointment is giving up 40 and going out the way we did defensively. So that's all I got. One thing I did say in my last video, didn't get a lot of views, so hopefully some people get to see this. Thank you all who have supported the channel early. I did not expect to see, it's not a huge amount, but the amount of subscribers and viewers I've got in the first week, I'm surprised by, and I appreciate. So we'll keep doing this, and probably try to offer more things over time. I was thinking of doing a halftime show today, but I wasn't prepared for it. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. Let me know where I could be better. And all right. Well, hey, tough loss. At least it was fun for a while. Let's go Big Blue.